second speaker this morning, Doug Shepard, is an entrepreneur, business professional, and community leader. Over his 40-year professional career, Doug has established multiple businesses in such diverse industries as clothing manufacturing and retailing, real estate sales, mortgage lending, and escrow settlement services. As a supporter of the community, he has been a volunteer and a leader in many different capacities, such as serving as a Boy Scout leader to organizing neighborhood trash and graffiti removal. Most recently, Doug was a candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives here in the 41st Congressional District. In his speech entitled, "How Can We Honor the Ultimate Sacrifice?" he shares a moment of personal insight about how we can all honor those who have given their lives in service to our country. Speaking for 5 to 7 minutes, please help me welcome Doug Shepard.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Last week, about 10 days ago, I attended several 9/11 commemorative events. At each of these events, active duty personnel, veterans got up and spoke, and many of them talked about how they were motivated, inspired by the events of 9/11 to join the service and to serve. At one of the events, the audience members were asked to share their own remembrances of that day. Many told of where they were and how they felt on that fateful day. At each event, I sat silent. It's not that I didn't have anything to say. You know me. It was a struggle. However, certainly I had strong feelings about the events of that day. But I've always felt humbled and, frankly, a little inadequate whenever the subject of call to service is addressed. My remembrance of 9/11 is one of overwhelming feeling of impotence, of helplessness. I remember thinking at the time that this happened to us. Yes, this happened to us, our country, our people. But it didn't happen to me. I didn't know anybody on the planes. I didn't know anybody at the Pentagon. I didn't know anybody in those towers. In 2001, I was 41 years old, running several businesses, had multiple employees, many financial responsibilities. I had a wife. I had children. I had daughters, aged 10 and 13. I had numerous business responsibilities. Over the next few months and years, young men and women in our community started to join the service. And I supported them and felt strongly for them. And I admired them. Like it or not, I made choices early on that, for good or bad, that I would never, my chance to serve in the armed forces passed me by. And I told myself, well, we're doing okay. In fact, I did very little. Occasionally, make a donation. We would work on backpacks and send off to service members. We would do a number of things, but frankly, it just wasn't that much. And I always had this feeling that I was failing. Then a few years ago, I was watching one of my favorite movies, Saving Private Ryan. You've all seen Saving Private Ryan? The most powerful part of that is at the end, when the elderly Private Ryan goes to the cemetery, back to France, to the cemetery of American soldiers buried there at Normandy. And at one point, he's standing in front of the cross of Captain Miller, that's Tom Hanks' character. And he falls to his knees, and he collapses, and he sobs uncontrollably. And his wife comes over and says, how can I help? How can I? To his aid, came to his aid. And he looked at her and he just said, tell me I'm a good man. Tell me that I lived a good life. What he was looking for, he wanted to be told that he had lived a good life and that he was worthy of the sacrifice of all the young men and people in that cemetery that had given their lives for him. Now, they're a semi-fictional character, but it had a great effect on me. I watched it, and I'd watched it many times before. And in that particular scene, at that time, it hit me. I kind of understood what those of us who did not serve could do to honor those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. I realized that only 5% of the U.S. population ever served in the armed forces. 95% of us never served. Those of us that did not serve can honor the sacrifice of those that did and gave the ultimate price for their service by recognizing, preserving, and upholding the values and culture that those that sacrificed and paid the ultimate price so dearly for. How do we do that? We can teach, we can speak out, and we can act. Teach all of those that will listen about the freedoms that are unique to the American ideal. We can speak out, and we can speak about everything that I call the American Trinity. Now, you've heard me speak about this before. It's enshrined in our coins. In God we trust, E pluribus unum, and liberty. There's something greater. There's something greater than the government that gives us our individual rights. That's in God we trust. Liberty. Liberty is really opportunity fired by this miracle of capitalism. And from the many one, E pluribus unum, it means that because of our core values, we're not as diverse as we think, as long as we are committed to one value. I believe that we must speak out and we must teach those values and uphold those values and do what we can. That is how we can uphold and honor those that have come before and given that sacrifice. We can act. We can vote. We can vote with a ballot. We can vote with our time. We can vote with our voices, and we can vote with our treasure. We can let others know why others have given that sacrifice. In the end, we should ask, did I give a good life? Was I good enough? Was it worth the sacrifice of others? And I say we should answer yes. We should implore all of the values that they embrace and the reason they gave their sacrifice.